good afternoon, and happy spring 2025 to you all. I hope that you are doing great. Hey, it is Dr. Robinson, also known as Dr. Bridge Builder here, Chief Business Strategist of MFAD Creative Group. I am here to literally say welcome to 2025. It's been a minute since we've done a video. As you all know, quite a bit of stuff has been happening revolving around small business and changes with the new presidency and new administration, particularly when it comes to procurement and GovCon. So, of course, we had to take a while to take care of some clients to pivot and adjust as needed. And we wanted to finally pop back on with you all to share some knowledge. So, you'll probably start to see videos more frequently from us. You'll also notice that the videos that we post are going to be geared towards pivoting when we talk about GovCon and winning potential proposals and opportunities that are available to you. So it's no longer going to be centered around just capacity building for capacity building's sake. We're going to try to get a little bit more targeted in the messages that we're putting out there for our small business owners. So consider this the first one in that series as we build what we call our capacity builder network, our CBN. If you want to hear more about that, definitely make sure you shoot me over a message via email or in the feed for this YouTube video, and I can get that information over to you. Today, we are actually going to dive into a question that has came up quite often with some of our clients revolving around how we decide to bid or not to bid on particular offerings. So I decided that I would go in and actually share our main screen that you could possibly see in one of the programs that we use when it comes down to what we consider deal breakers as well as deal makers revolving around potential proposals that we prefer to go after. So, without further ado, let's get into this. And before I scroll over to the screen, please do not hesitate to like, share, and subscribe to our page because we definitely want to make sure that we continue to build our followers here on YouTube. We have quite a few people that join us on our Facebook feeds on a regular basis, and of course, our website and then the actual CBN network via Basecamp. But yes, we don't want to forget about our YouTube folks, so definitely make sure you like, share, and subscribe this video. And of course, hit us up with some comments because we would love to hear your feedback. So let's get into this. Remember, these are actually the components that we put in our system. This is not 100% guarantee for any business owner, but we wanted to show you all just a structured concept of what it would possibly look like as you are potentially looking for bidding opportunities. So let's talk about the deal breakers. These are considered the opportunities that come across our desk that we consider deal breakers. There's no bid because they have some of these things on them, whether it be a factor at the beginning, within the scope, the executive summary, budget component. It's something that ties it into being considered what's known as a deal breaker. All right, so in no particular order, our deal breakers include unrealistic compliance burdens. So this is tied into excessive regulatory requirements that actually outweigh the contract's profitability or feasibility. So in other words, it's not worth it in layman's terms, right? They're asking you to perform, I don't know, 1,300 hours worth of work with a budget of $50,000, and you're supposed to like target, I don't know, like 800 children through a child care center. Like it doesn't make any kind of sense for what they're actually putting out there. So it's not worth it. Another deal breaker for us is what we call the risk of organizational conflict of interest, also known as OCI. If the contract creates a conflict that will prevent your company, and in our case it's MFAD, from bidding on future opportunities. So in other words, they shut you out. So once you start working with them, there's some type of stipulation where they're like, yeah, well, you can't work with another agency similar to this contract as long as you're with us and our contract. And the contract will be for like 5 years. Well, that's going to shut you out from other opportunities that will be available to you that's going to affect your bottom line, i.e., your revenue. So definitely make sure you pay attention to OCIs. Delayed or unclear payment schedules. If the payment terms are net 90 or they're completely unclear of how they're actually going to reimburse you, definitely make sure that you are mindful of that, because a net 90 is quite scary for payments. And what that means for those people who are new to GovCon, that means that they are not looking to pay you 90 days, right? So they have 90 days. That's what they're looking at, 90-day window as far as your payment goes. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you are mindful of that. And it's 90 days plus. So definitely make sure that you are mindful of just delayed, unclear payment schedules. Also, make sure you're mindful of the next one that's on our little list here, which is excessive upfront payments. This is a wild one, right? This is when the contract requires significant financial investment without guaranteed returns. And sometimes those guaranteed returns that they have, they actually don't even follow them, as crazy as it seems. We recently just read over a RFP, and that RFP was a substantial size RFP. And one of the things reason why I came across our desk is because it is up under our main NIST number, which is 541611. Great. But as we dived into it, worked it through our system, we realized that, yeah, it's not going to be feasible for us because of this rule. And this is actually this morning, excessive upfront investment. They actually wanted the SWIMBY, the small firm that was awarded the contract, to upfront all costs associated with the additional clients that would be needed on this actual awarded RFP. And then the agency had 2 weeks to pay the SWIMBY after an invoice was submitted. So, in essence, you were upfronting all of the costs. And this was a multi-million dollar contract that we're talking about with a lot of moving parts. So it was quite entertaining to read, but that is definitely what we mean when we say excessive upfront investment. Please be mindful of that. Low profit margin. So if the pricing structure does not align with your company's cost of services or profitability goals, right? It doesn't even make any type of sense for you to even attempt it, because when you do the math on it, it's like $10 an hour. I'm just throwing that out there. So definitely make sure you check those profit margins. Unrealistic deliverables or deadlines. If the project scope is not achievable within a given timeline. Sounds crazy, but I've actually seen this. It's actually becoming quite rampant in the past 3 months. We've had situations where RFPs will drop on a Monday and they actually want to have all submissions by the following Monday, so like a 7-day window. Then they want the project to start within 10 days. So they start the project up in 10 days, and then they actually have a timeline of 30 days. And it'll be a feasibility study of 1,500 citizens in a given community whose children go to a specific school district. Like, that's how targeted it is. And somehow or another, all of this is supposed to be done: research, the survey, observations, the drilling down of the data, and submission of your findings, all within 30 days. And it'll be a contract for $10,000, right? It does not make any type of sense. Just completely unrealistic deliverables, because we all know to get a good, thorough survey and research, you have to have a special amount of days that's actually allocated towards that for your research. The drilling down of your data is a whole separate animal in itself. So definitely make sure you pay very close attention to those unrealistic deliverables and deadlines. Lack of clear requirements. So this is the contract scope. If it's vague, it's subject to frequent changes. And believe it or not, quite a few partners, agencies, and even cities do this on a regular basis. This is why I'm so adamant about telling clients to make sure you check for addendums, check for updates on a regular basis, because they change, believe it or not just after you have the pre-bid, bid, or mandatory bid meeting, but even just on a whim, it'll be an update that pops up. So definitely make sure you check for those the requirements. And sometimes it's just the contract as it is when it comes out. It doesn't make sense. There's some pieces missing. You might want to walk away from that, because it might be a little bit more trouble than what it is actually worth. Insufficient government support. So if the agency does not provide access to necessary resources, data, personnel, excessive liability, and indemnification clauses, some of that stuff is like 8 pages long. That's a whole separate one. But I scooted them together because it kind of go hand in hand. You have to be mindful of that. When you do not get the support that you need for these even smaller contracting opportunities that are pushed out there by some BDOs and agencies, there should be some type of support that is attached to it because you may need data. How do you get access to it? Who is your main POC? Do they disappear? Like, ask these questions and be mindful of the outcome revolving around the sponsors that you get. And then the second part of that, that excessive liability indemnification clauses, this is attached to you as a small business owner having to take on just unreasonable and unrealistic legal or financial risk, right? Because remember, you're the vendor slash supplier, depending on who it is that you're working for, the contract is through. So you're literally taking on this risk. Well, what does that look like? And as I mentioned, some of them are like 6, 7, 8 page clauses. That's crazy, right? But you want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what it is that they're seeking. And I always like to say the larger the actual contract is as far as the revenue or the dollar amount goes, in a lot of cases, that is going to tie into the liability and the indemnification clauses that are actually included in the RFP that you may be going over. Unfavorable termination clauses. So if the contract allows the government to cancel without fair compensation, ooh, this is a good one, right? So in other words, there's something crazy in there that's just worded like, yeah, so if something happens, or in some cases, if nothing happens, and we're just like, yeah, this isn't what we expected, they can walk away and not pay you, right? So definitely make sure you check for those termination clauses because that's a big one for us. So you see this on our deal breaker list. Non-negotiable subcontracting restriction. If the contract limits MFAT's ability to use key teaming partners and subcontractors. For those of y'all who have been with me for a while, you know that I am adamant about partnering with other small firms, right? That's one of my favorite things to do after I take them through a good vetting process. I work with them on a regular basis because as I build my business, I want other small businesses to be able to build their business as well. So that's why it's big for me to have Convergence SA and work with the people that are part of the CBN that we built out because these things tie into the ecosystem's overall success. So that is a big deal breaker for us when there is a large RFP that comes out and it's very obvious that it's going to take all hands on deck to actually have some non-negotiable restrictions revolving around key partners and personnel that can possibly be used. Definitely ask for an explanation if you were really adamant about working whatever that RFP may be before you submit, but ask those questions. But for us, if we see a situation where it clearly states that a second tier subcontracting is not available, but yet the RFP calls for like 60 people to be a part of it, and it's going to be like multiple locations all going at the same time, like for project management. We can't stretch ourselves thin like that. You have to bring additional hands in. And this also ties into the discussion that so many small businesses have revolving around access to these large contracting opportunities, because in some cases, what happens is when you see a RFP that clearly states that, a lot of your smaller firms will walk away from that actual RFP because there isn't an opportunity to debundle or bring on partnering or subcontracting needs. So that's why it's big for us to make sure that there is accessibility for us all. So non-negotiable subcontracting restrictions is definitely a deal breaker for us. So let's talk about some of the deal makers. These are the things that we absolutely love and will definitely have us looking at it as a 80% or higher potentiality of us actually going after that bid, right? These are the big things that MFAT considers the deal makers, as we like to say, right? So compliance and strategic alignment. So the small business and set aside opportunities are listed there for businesses that fall within specific categories. So for MFAD, not only are we WASB, we're ED WASB, we have our federal MBE, we're Hub as well, and we have a lot of local as well as other state certifications that are up under our belt. And we all know now with the current administration, certifications are kind of still there, but they may not necessarily play the same role as they have done in the past. But I will caveat it with this. If you have your certifications, please continue to use them. You may not necessarily need them to be front and center because you want to focus on the value that you bring into the table, right? That's that word, merit and value. It should have always been about that, which it has been. So you want to make sure that you continue to push that, but you also want to make sure that if you're a veteran, you have your VBOC, right? You have your Veterans Business Opportunity Cert and Business Enterprise Cert. You're covered. If you're a woman-owned small business cert, or WASP as it's called, you have that in place. So definitely make sure you still keep those certifications active. If you're looking to get them, please do. So definitely want to make sure you keep those in your back pocket. So we still highly recommend to our clients that yes, go after your certifications because they're still needed. Alignment with your core capabilities. So these are opportunities that actually match your company's expertise, tied into creative strategy, branding, marketing, communication, digital services, whatever the core capabilities may be for your actual company. It fits and it works. So you want to make sure that as you're looking at these RFPs and these opportunities that are available, that it's within the wheelhouse that you serve, right? That's why it's so important for you to know your NIST number, right? Your 541611 is our primary one. Yes, you can have probably about 8, if not more, other NIST numbers and NIGP codes, commodities codes, as they're called as a whole, that you may work up under. Also, be mindful with the agency as far as its history of successful relationships with vendors, right? Government agencies that are known for working with small businesses, having good payment habits, and clear communication. This lightens your load. So we love working with agencies and partners that are like that. So you definitely want to make sure that you're mindful of those. And when we talk about financial and payment terms, you want to work with agencies and partners that offer a competitive and profitable profit pricing structure. So these are those agencies that have contracts that allow for strong profit margins, cover label technology, overhead costs. Like they have not just a need revolving around the issue at hand, right? So whatever the RFP is geared toward, but they also have a need to continue to work with small businesses to better the overall ecosystem of where they are located. So they're willing to work with you. And they literally have favorable terms that's attached to it, right? And speaking of favorable terms, that's the next thing on our list. Favorable payment terms. So net 30 or sooner on your payment cycles because you're running a business. You may have employees that need to get paid. You need to get paid. So you want to make sure that whatever agency that you're working with, use that as a deal maker, right? Do they pay on time? Is it net 30 or sooner with their cycles? Do they actually have milestone based payments? And this is when as a business owner, you hit a specific milestone, they actually pay you. So it's not like, 30 days out. You could hit a milestone within 7 days on a project. Can you submit your invoice or purchase order for payment then? Like, how are they structured? So milestone based payments are awesome when they work out like they're supposed to. And then of course access to prompt payment incentives. So in other words, if they actually pay you on time, maybe they have a clause where they will offer an additional discount for the services that's rendered, right? Because some agencies are actually structured like that, where if they pay you within I don't know, a 10-day window, the actual cost of the overall project is knocked down 2% because stuff is paid on time. So once again, different businesses run their business a little bit different when it comes to the budget and how it is structured, but that's just a conversation that you want to make sure that you have. Any type of multi-year contracting opportunity. So these long-term agreements can possibly be great deal makers, especially if you're a small business. You love to get contracting opportunities that's, 6 months long, a year long. That's fabulous. But when you get the multi-year, right? The 3, the 5, in some cases 7-year contracting opportunities, this provides a steady revenue income for your company and its scalability. Like you can see a lot better where it is that you are headed. So those are fabulous. And when we talk about the scope and execution, this is clearly defined scopes and deliverables in the RFP. So you can still hop on the bid meeting and ask questions, but just from reading the actual RFP, you're probably about 90% of the way there with yes, this is something we're going to go after. It's that last 10% that you just got a few little questions on that you need answered. But the overall RFP itself was clear, the scope was defined, the deliverables makes perfect sense. So it's well defined on what they expect. This is what we need. Here's our history. Here's the due date. This is what we expect. Here's what we're willing to pay. Like there's no ambiguity revolving around what it is that they're seeking and what they're attempting to do. And then we also have on our list opportunities for innovation and creativity. So contracts that allow MFAD to showcase creative problem solving, branding, and storytelling. So in other words, we're able to actually grab the bull by the horns and add our own twist to it because, right, we're solving a problem that they may have. So whether it be they need to host some technical assistance classes with small businesses, and we're able to literally give them a full build out of like 5 different classes, whether it's securing the bag, capacity building for the small business owner, getting into GovCon, or the 5 C's of credit, now known as the 6 C's of credit. Whatever the case may be, we're able to build that out for them, and they're like, yes, I need that. Access to government furnished equipment and software tools, right? When the government provides necessary tools, makes the execution more efficient. So if it's a specialized RFP where all of these different programs and tools are going to be needed, did they factor that into the overall budget that was put out there, or are you going to be responsible for it? We love working with agencies and partners that actually factor that into the offerings, right? They know you're going to have to buy a particular software program to do surveys and analytics, or they have a specific program that they've built out themselves and they've given you access to it as part of the awarded RFP for the run of the contract. Like that's a big thing for us, right? It's very important. Subcontracting or team and flexibility. So this is the polar opposite of what I said earlier about the no deal, right? Prime contracts that allow MFAT to subcontract work to trusted partners. That's our relationship building with other small business owners. We are adamant about that. We think that it is so important because that is how other small businesses are able to grow their reach, and we're able to grow our reach and network at the same time. Pathway to sole source contracts. So those are those contracts with agencies that are open to sole source awards based on a specific company's expertise and relationships. We love sole source contracts. It shows our history of what we are able to do and what we're bringing to the table. It also gives us an opportunity to go after a particular contract that we may not have had access to simply because we are a smaller firm, right? So that's extremely important for us. And definitely make sure that you study up on sole sources because there's a lot of nuances that are attached to them as well. Not going to go down the rabbit hole, but I definitely want you all to make sure that you check out what some of the sole source contracts look like. Just do a little digging around for yourself and find out. And then last on our list is option for contract modifications and growth. So agreements that allow future scope expansion. So like maybe originally it was for 1 year, but it comes with the option for an extension for another 2, right? We love that. First right of refusal, first right of recompete. Those are big for us, especially if we did something fabulous. We've had contracting opportunities where it's been for 1 year, but because of the offerings that we put forward and the outcome as far as the execution goes, we've had contracts that have been renewed multiple times. Matter of fact, we have one contract that we was awarded in 2020, and every year since they have came back and renewed for an additional year. So here it is 2025, and this is technically rolling into year 6 that we have actually worked with this particular partner because of the strong execution of previous programs that we have done. All right, my good people. So once again, I wanted to hop on just to give you a understanding of what we consider deal breakers and deal makers in the world of GovCon, i.e., bid or no bid. Yes, there is a bid or no bid sheet that we have. If you would like a copy of that, please do not hesitate to shoot me a message. My email address is in the feed, and I'll also do my best to make sure I put it in the summary. Just check there as well on YouTube to say, hey, Dr. Shay, can you send me over that bid or no bid sheet, I will gladly send it over to you. So you can just check it out. And if you decide to use it, great. If not, perfectly fine as well. But I always tell people that it's very important for you to always continue to learn, to just see what is out there as far as opportunities goes. What may work for one business owner may not necessarily work for you until you tweak it and make it your own. We like to say pivot, right? So pivot a little bit. So this year for us, it is definitely about pivoting. We are adjusting as we continue to scale MFAD and grow into everything that we have to offer, and definitely looking to continue our reach and our sessions and teaching on the GovCon side of the house. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed the golden nuggets that I dropped on you. And if there's some other ones that you would like to add personally for your own business, definitely hook us up in the comments and tell us some of your deal makers as well as deal breakers. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. And once again, thanks for joining us. Bye.